Hey YouTube follower, thank you so much for tuning in to my second video. If you haven't checked out my first yet, it gives a little bit of a lead up to what this is all going to be about. And this video, I hope to expand a little bit more on my specific goals and what you can hope to receive from these videos. I'm so grateful that you're here. I know that your time is precious, and just that you're interested and intrigued to know what it is that I have to share on the topic of the disease of addiction and alcoholism. To me, they're both the same. I am just so grateful that you consider me a resource, that you have an open mind to hear my experience. I've been on both sides. I probably speak more from my lived experience through the lens of an alcoholic, because I do still have the disease of alcoholism. I always will. And I just happen to live a full, happy, peaceful, purposeful life now as a result of having treated alcoholism. So join me for this journey where I'm an open book. There's no question that's off limits. I hope to inspire, motivate, shatter stigmas, bust myths, and more, just through my sharing of my personal experience. So I want to start today by saying, why on earth, or how do I identify as a grateful alcoholic? Because it didn't make sense to me when I had heard it in the beginning from other people. And I'm not the only one who identifies as a grateful alcoholic. There are others, and I don't know their reasoning. You can ask them. But here's my reasoning. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for having the disease of alcoholism. So it started like this. I was born with the disease of alcoholism. I didn't know it until it manifested. And then once it did, I now get to a point where, and my disease took decades to progress, it's different for everybody, where I either die or end up in prison forever, or accept a path of recovery. After a lot of resistance is such an understatement, a lot of belligerent denial, objecting, refusing, judging, etc., finally getting so beaten down really is what it was. It was my gift of desperation finally, and being humble enough to have a moment of willingness to accept suggestions. Then one suggestion, which amounted to 1 hour, which amounted to 1 day at a time, resulted in days stacking up and me experiencing a complete transformation, a transformation that was unfathomable in my disease of addiction or alcoholism, and then also never would have been achieved had I died, not made it through this disease. And even if I had somehow found a way to, well, I wasn't going to find a way to temper my disease or manage it or control it, not towards the end. It is a disease, it does progress, and I can't wait to talk about all that in other videos specific to that topic. But for now, for the sake of explaining why I'm a grateful alcoholic, which is exactly why I'm here to begin with and to end with. But as a result of a path of recovery, my life transformed, and relationships that I thought I'd go to the grave with, never reuniting with, are whole and full-fledged and wholesome and alive and incredible. My health improved dramatically. I have zero health issues, which I'm grateful to God for. I know that that is a blessing in and of itself, and especially for what I put my body and my brain through. And I have a joy that I even sometimes have to pinch myself about, the joy that's just in my heart on a daily basis. And I have a peace that is absolutely beyond my understanding. Absolutely beyond my understanding, when in circumstances I just more so think back, like when my mom died in recovery, how I made it through it just lifted, carried with a peace that is beyond my understanding. And that would not have been the case in my alcoholism. And in fact, in my alcoholism, I would have drank more and therefore not shown up for people and would have made more of a mess of things. And there would be zero peace in my heart. I would have been dealing with grief and then putting gasoline on a fire. So yes, these are the results of recovery, and my path of recovery only came because I had something that I needed to be recovered from, which is the disease of alcoholism. So therefore, that is why I am a self-proclaimed, identify as a grateful alcoholic. Okay, in case anybody was wondering why that's how I identify. So furthermore, I get to this point now in my life journey, and I'm so passionate about the opportunity that is available to every single alcoholic or addict, that I finally, again, got the gift of desperation to accept some help and get on this path, that I want to hopefully inspire anybody who potentially resonates with some of the things that I am going to share, the trajectory of my disease, and or if somebody has a loved one, or if a leader of a company is looking at this and thinking, wow, I know that I've probably got one, if not multiple employees who may be suffering with this silently or maybe not so silently, or may have loved ones who are suffering with it that's affecting my employee, which is affecting my company, then I'm hoping that I can help. I want to help through transparency, through education, through my own experience, through sharing this information in a way that is helpful, comprehensible, and that engages people to start talking. There's no reason why the topic of addiction and alcoholism should be a topic of shame, period. I know that there are shameful, unfortunately, circumstances, behaviors, incidents that surround particularly people that are experiencing or are a part of an addict or alcoholic's experience towards the end particularly. But I don't know, maybe we can help people to help themselves, or help people to help their loved ones find help earlier by talking about this. And I say that because I did not get sober till I was 43, and there were seeds planted for me. The first seed that I remember being planted was by a friend 20 years prior to me getting sober. And then another seed was planted through this guy that I followed on social media probably 2 years before I got sober. And then maybe a year before I got sober, there was another person that I followed on social media who shared her experience, and that inspired me and was a seed planted. And when I think back to 20 years of alcohol abuse that was only progressing as a disease, and therefore progressing in consequences and progressing in detrimental outcomes to those who were in my orbit, maybe I could have or would have gotten help sooner if, strong maybe that I would have and could have gotten help sooner if I was way more educated. I didn't receive any education until I got into the rooms of recovery at the age of 43. So if I had been more educated, if I had been connected with more people who suffer from what I suffer from, if I had been made to feel that treatment was nothing to be ashamed of, and then in fact it might be a very necessary ingredient in the recipe of getting well. Those are just a few examples of yes, if those things had happened or been presented or been accessible or been just prevalent, yeah, there's a good chance I could have and would have gotten help sooner. In the same breath, I'll tell you that I wouldn't change anything about my story, because A, crying over spilt milk doesn't do me any good, and B, I am where I am, period, and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, as is everybody. So yes, I am a grateful alcoholic because I have the disease of addiction. I eventually received help, and as a result, it transformed my life. And I am so grateful to be here, living out my purpose, helping you to help a loved one, helping you to help an employee. And I'm on other platforms as well, so please go check those out. To enlist my professional services, you can reach me through my website at www.collapse2calling.com, or through my LinkedIn page, which is again Collapse 2 Calling. And yeah, follow, subscribe, like, share my posts. Appreciate it all, not for me, but for the masses of people that we're going to help by keeping this dialogue and keeping it open and going and transparent, and always infused with love and tolerance with boundaries, but love and tolerance for this disease and the magnitude of people, places, and things that it affects. I used to think, it's my business, mind your business. I was a big closet drinker for that reason. I just felt like it was nobody's business because it didn't affect anybody but me, and I couldn't have been farther from the truth. On the smallest scale, from it affecting people just because, well, first of all, because people knew as much as I didn't think people knew, especially those closest to me. It affected them on the level of robbing them of their peace of mind, because they did worry about me. And then on a larger scale, it affected them, and then even more people beyond that, exponentially, when things started to get really bad. Not only was I a wrecking ball and a tornado to those in my closest atmosphere, particularly towards the end, but if you think about, if I'm having an impact on my spouse or somebody I live with, or a dear friend, or another loved one, or distant relative, and I'm either causing havoc or even just causing them to worry, or worse, causing them to worry and causing havoc, you better believe that those people are then taking that stress and it's coming out somewhere on their loved ones, or at their workplace, or them trying to get a good night's sleep, etc. So the magnitude of the effect of this disease, it is not just a one person affected disease. It's just not. It never just affects one person. The magnitude of the tremors, the repercussions, it's mind-blowing. And so if we can start to move the dial in a good direction on normalizing talking about this, normalizing treatment, normalizing the rooms of recovery, normalizing just finding your people, and normalizing humility. Humility is at the core of this entire thing. Now, that's one alcoholic speaking to another potential alcoholic or addict. Humility does play a big role, though, as well, in the loved one. Humble enough to admit when you're powerless to do anything more than you've already tried to do, and then be willing to accept some accountability to set some boundaries. I definitely believe there's humility at play for everyone involved that has some involvement in this addiction, this disease. So as far as that goes too, you're going to hear me speak the words alcoholism and addiction interchangeably, and sometimes sometimes just one, sometimes both. Make no mistake that alcohol is a drug, for one. Alcohol was my jam, so therefore I drank my drug. But the disease of addiction, as I understand it, as I have been educated on and experienced and have observed my fellows, hundreds if not thousands at this point with over 5 years sober, is that we all suffer from the same thing. So alcoholic may be subject to somebody like myself who booze is my drug of choice. Addict could be more all-encompassing, but I often hear, so this is one of the myths I want to bust, an addict might, someone who identifies as an addict, that is, because drugs are their drugs of choice, dry goods, if you will, or pills or what have you. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't even care about booze or what have you. Okay, great. Or an alcoholic, like, oh no, I'm not an addict, because I never touched dry goods or what have you. First of all, the fact that there's even a stigma within the recovery community is something that needs to be shattered first and foremost. Everybody I know whose drug of choice is something other than alcohol, and everything from fentanyl to crack to meth to coke to kratom, whippets, whatever, the list goes on and on. They'll all say, when being honest with themselves first, that the minute that they think that they can do a vodka shot or a mug of beer or glass of wine, it is usually pretty immediately that they're calling their drug dealer or the dope man. And on the convert, and then from my point of view, which really I should have started with, and I want to stick to my experience, but I do want to illustrate the contrast between the addict mentality and the alcoholic mentality. There's no difference though. I know for a fact, because trust me, I definitely had my times where I tried to substitute. I know for a fact that if I think I can smoke a joint or do a gummy, or if I'm gonna think I could do a line of Coke or kratom or kava, I will be picking up a drink immediately. Period. There is no substituting. I am waking up a beast inside of me, and two things are going to happen. Well, the whole waking up the beast thing is a topic in and of itself, about what I and other addicts, alcoholics, anybody who ingests something minor mood altering that is an addict, what happens to them. We'll talk about that in my next video. But two things happen when I pick up something else besides my drug of choice, which is booze. And that is, I get the bleep. It's where I'm like, well, screw it. I'm not sober anymore, so let's go. Let's bring on the drinks. And number two, which happens simultaneously, is this isn't really the drug that I like the feeling of anyway, so let's counteract this feeling and go get some booze, which is the feeling that I really appreciate. So, I don't know why some people gravitate towards opiates or benzos or booze or marijuana, and why we sane people are repulsed by or paranoid from or whatever other substances. I don't know. I don't know if it's about personality or chemical makeup, and it doesn't matter. I honestly don't even care to talk about that topic, because it doesn't matter. Because it doesn't matter. We all suffer from the same thing. The minute I pick up any minor mood altering substance, I have an allergy which means that physically I break out into a craving, and it is a craving that I cannot mentally override at all. It is an itch that cannot be scratched no matter how hard I scratch it. And meaning I need more, 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 more. And it is coupled with, to make a double-edged sword, a mental obsession where all I'm thinking about at this point now is I need more. Where can I get more? How soon can I get more? How can I get more and get away with it without anybody knowing? How can I get more and hide more to make sure I always have more, 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 more. And off I go back into the disease of alcoholism or addiction. So that's the scoop if and when I use those words interchangeably. And I think that's a good start for today. I love you guys. God bless you guys. Thanks for following, subscribing, sharing, posting, commenting, DMing, visiting my website, requesting a free consultation if there's something I can do for you professionally, for your organization. I love working with healthcare providers and helping to educate. And yeah, so just reach out. I love you guys. Thanks for taking the time to watch and follow. And God bless you and have a good day. Talk soon. Bye.